Create, Share, and Give. This is Mayat Marie, and today's video I want to share with you guys, or basically do a book review on the book The Magic of Marie Laveau, Embracing the Spiritual Legacy of the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans by Denise Alvarado. And this book, I have seen so many books on Madame Marie Laveau, and I've never picked them up because they are written by a bunch of charlatans, manufactured material. A lot of them don't resonate as being true. It's a whole lot of marketeering going on out there, and people have used Miss Marie Laveau name in vain. So this book was one of the exceptions. I had a different vibe about it, and I love the cover picture. I love the face that they chose to represent her on the book cover. So I wanted to check it out, and there are some great things about this book. I'll start out, the book starts out of basically stating that in the introduction that if Miss Marie Laveau were alive today or had lived in this time, that she would have been on the forefront of certain movements such as the Black Lives Matter. And it's ironic that we're going through everything we're going through, and the change and all of the protesting now and all of the systemic racism that we all knew that existed, that companies and people are admitting that they, have basically used tactics, on a certain group of people, meaning black people. And so this is a turning time in our consciousness of humanity. And I definitely believe that she definitely would have been on that forefront, because there's so many other travesties that have happened in the world where she's been on the forefront. I have a whole video dedicated to my trip to New Orleans about the Madame Marie Laveau. So I would suggest you go back and get a little history on that video. But for this book, I said, okay, I'll give it a chance. I'm the type of person that I can always learn something. If I go to any event, an educational event, I always learn something. One of my teachers taught me that a long time ago. And he told me, you go to every class you can go to, even if you come out learning one little minute thing different, it will be well worth your time, because over the years or over your career, all those small things will add up to big things. And that's so true, and that's something I've always held on to. I can learn something from anywhere I go. I'm like, I'm not leaving until I get something. And also, I'm the same way with reading a book or learning. I never feel anything is really like beneath me, like, oh, I know this, I know that. My ancestors, of course, guide you throughout your way, your spiritual path. But as far as I've been doing this for generations, my mother have done this, and I don't know or want to learn anything different. That's not me. Hopefully I never ever get that mentality, because it's like the more you know, the more you understand that, what you don't know. And you can learn something from everyone. I'm that person. I'm that person that'll stop and, if I feel safe, talk to someone who may be a homeless person, or someone who may be an alcoholic in the front of the liquor store, because I can learn something from every single person. But there's a certain level that I'm not going to deal with. So, but this book, I felt like, okay, it'll be worth the effort of reading. And I would say that it was. Certain things, with Miss Marie Laveau, I believe that you have to have a personal relationship with, and then insight will come with that. Because there's so much propaganda going on. Everyone is guessing this and that and this, using it for their own marketeering to market you the supplies. When I went to New Orleans, I was so disappointed on how many people are using her name to profit off of, when you can tell their intentions weren't there. They were there to sell her name, to sell their products and their curios, and are quite profitable doing it. So, don't hate the player, hate the game. So, within this book, there's a lot. One thing I love about Marie Laveau and how she is in sainthood for me, and I would say she has been venerated as a saint. Her movements during her lifetime can be traced. They're actually documents. I visited the New Orleans Voodoo Museum during my visit in New Orleans. And there's actually documents of her ownership, documents of her putting her house up to help bail her friend out of jail that was falsely accused. And so I think if you're going to say you're a Marie Laveau devotee, there are certain aspects about yourself that has to be number one. And number one being that Marie Laveau was a humanitarian. So if you're going to say you are a Marie Laveau devotee, you have the statues sitting out along with Mama Wata, and you do zero to speak out on the injustice that others go through, then I'm going to look at you like a false prophet, because we have to be a humanitarian first. Miss Marie Laveau was born a free woman, yet she spent most of her life helping the enslaved. When she would go to Congo Square, she would go to meet up and help empower the enslaved. She would go to the prisons and feed the homeless, those that were on death row. Now we know the injustices that we have here, that we've seen over and over again for the last 400 years against Black Americans. So can you imagine in 1918 what it was like? If a police can kill a man in broad daylight on TV time and time again, on video, and still not be held accountable, can you imagine how it was in 1912, 1918? And this woman was on the front line of that. So I'm speaking to myself as well. We have to do something, each one teach one. Find a way to give back, to donate to charities. Help your neighbor. Help those across town as you're selling your Marie Laveau curios, as you're selling the Marie Laveau oils. What are you giving back to the community that she was a part of and that she honored? So within this book, it goes into different things about Miss Marie Laveau. Here's a chapter on creating an altar. And here it has like a 3-layer altar with recommendations on her colors and different offerings. Now you can read through it and take as you want from it, but it can be a starting point. It can open your mind to be creative and do whatever you want to do, whatever calls to your heart. But it's a starting point. Another thing about this book, here is a memorial to Marie Laveau. When I first went to New Orleans, when I first touched down, the same day, my very first start, this is at Sally Ann Glassman's store in her Botanica. In the front, there is a huge Marie Laveau statue. I actually went there, made an offering, because I was on that sacred ground before I did anything else. Actually, the Botanica was closed that day, but I went to see this shrine. And I just love the dedication. So they had this in there. Another thing they had in here that I've kind of liked, Gris-Gris. They had different instructions on how to make different Gris-Gris bags. Although, you can always use more information. Like I said, you may get a spark from a different idea on how to create that. So with all here done, there's graveyard dirt work. There's a lot of different works you can go through and kind of see what interests you. Take it with a grain of salt. So overall, I think I would give this book, it seemed the most genuine out of many that I've picked up on her. The intention is there. Denise Alvarado has different books that she has written. I haven't read any of them, but I have heard her name just around in circles for a long time. So with this book, it'll be worth to pick up. You may take little nuggets of truth here and there, or little nuggets you will be able to build upon. Some books are written just pure, trash, from the lack of better words. And I hope you have that discernment to know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. Because her name is making a lot of people money. And the money without the humanitarianism is zero. It's a no-go. There's also a book, there was a book written by a lady who did it as a project for school, and she's selling the book. The book was like $200 or $300. Like, really? Yeah, the information I'm sure you can look up online, through libraries, documented information, and draw your own points from there. And Marie Laveau's spirit will come if she chooses to work with you, or if she feels your intentions are there. The first time I heard about Marie Laveau, I believe when I really got into her, was through this book, Jambalaya, by Lucia Tiesh. I did a whole review on this book as well. It's in my list, my video list far back. But this is an excellent book to start with. This is one of those books that seem genuine, written from the heart, from the truth of Lucia. Whether that truth is your truth or my truth, you can tell it's coming from a place of authenticity. And that means a lot to me. Not just, again, trying to make a quick dollar off of a legend's name. And then going to all about the voodoo spells, all about this. Well, how about the people that she healed? How about the poor that she helped? She was a shrewd businesswoman, so I have to give that to her. She knew her business. And it was about business, but it was also about helping others. There's a fine line of balance in that. And that's something I'm learning as well. So if you are into this book, I would say maybe pick it up. It will be worth picking it up. Some of the ingredients that go in here, are a little bit off to me, because our ancestors, when they were doing their conjure work and root work, they didn't have a lot to work with. And they weren't allowed to travel around and have too much freedom. Like, say in a Gris-Gris bag, if it says a shark tooth, a shark tooth. Yeah, if someone had one that happened to be on the shores and picked one up, but usually that type of thing, I don't believe was available to them. And one thing I love about the voodoo hoodoo culture and community is that they know how to make a way out of no way. That's that spirit working with them. Where there is a will, there is a way. And they use whatever they had. If they had this root, they went and got that root instead of the other root. They worked with what they had. So if things get too intricate, that's fine if that's what you would like. But just keep in mind, the ancestors lived a very minimalistic life because they had no choice at that time. So as you're reading about the great Miss Marie Laveau, keep in mind and don't forget to use that thing called discernment and intuition, and weed out the ones that are there just to make a profit and not give back to the community in any way, shape, or form. So thank you so much for watching this video, and until we meet again, peace.